NASCAR eliminates the skew. Joey Logano says he's not worried about crashing cars. Ty Gibbs finally confirms his full-time Xfinity status, and Kyle Larson wins the pole for the Daytona 500. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove, coming to you live from beautiful, sunny Florida. Today we're reacting to Media Day. Yesterday, Daytona 500 Media Day. Great chance for every driver in the field to give some interesting quotes, for people to ask interesting questions. Kyle Larson had some high praise for Tyler Reddick. NASCAR changed the rulebook overnight to eliminate the weird skew. I will be out at the track today, Thursday, as well as Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you're going to be at Daytona at any point this week or weekend and you see me, feel free to say hi. Going to be filming a lot of stuff while I'm there. Hopefully we get some guests on the channel over the next few days. I'm very excited. This is my first ever Daytona 500. Gonna try to do it up big. Really appreciate all of your support. Now, I want to begin today with a rule change NASCAR announced actually late Tuesday night. They announced this at like midnight, so I guess Wednesday morning, but NASCAR edited the rule book to force teams to get rid of that weird skew we saw in practice on Tuesday. We actually also saw this during the next gen test about a month ago, where teams had the front of the cars almost pointed at the outside wall with the left side of the spoiler out in the air. Basically an attempt to increase straightaway speed at the expense perhaps of handling. Well, NASCAR, from what I can tell, from what I can gather at least, NASCAR just didn't like the look of that. The next gen cars are supposed to be symmetrical. They're supposed to look even more like a street car, and that weird skew, cars were literally crab walking down the straightaway. It looked strange, and NASCAR said, no, we're not going to do that. So they changed the allowances in the rule book to basically force teams quite literally back in line. This was from Bob Pockers from Fox Sports. He tweeted this actually yesterday. From talking to some drivers and crew chiefs, skew rule change won't have huge impact and won't obsolete what was learned in practice. Like I said, I think it was really all about how the cars looked driving sideways like that. So I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on the race. And as we'll talk about in a minute, it didn't seem to have a huge impact in qualifying. It was the usual suspects at the front of the field during single car runs. Let's actually talk about qualifying for just a moment. I know chronologically we're jumping all over the place, but last night, Kyle Larson locked up the Daytona 500 pole, and Alex Bowman, his Hendrick teammate, locked up the outside front row. Fifth straight year that Alex Bowman has been on the front row. Hopefully this year they can finally put together a full race. The Hendrick cars were the class of the field. In the first round of qualifying, they swept the top four spots. Eric Almirola snuck in there and broke it up a little bit in the second round, but still, all four Hendrick cars qualified in the top five. Whatever it may be, they just have single car Daytona runs figured out. Doesn't seem to matter what type of car, what generation, what year, what time of day qualifying is. Sometimes it doesn't even seem to matter the exact format of qualifying. The Hendrick cars get it done. Led by guys like Chad Knaus, and now Jeff Gordon, of course, is working over there. Like, the Hendrick cars were the team to beat in single car runs. But as we've seen year in, year out, single car qualifying really doesn't indicate how good you'll be during the race. Like, I mean, I guess the SHR cars fall Talladega back in, 2018. They were dominant. The four of them just broke away from the field even in the draft. I will be shocked if we see that this weekend in the Daytona 500 with Hendrick. It's not impossible, I suppose, but I highly doubt it. I think the draft will ultimately bring the field together as it always does. I still think Fords, who were really fast in practice, again, when the skew was being allowed, I still think the Fords are going to be good. Penske cars, maybe the RFK cars. I think SHR even, especially Eric Almirola, showed a little bit of speed, at least some good horsepower last night. It's certainly too early to pick a clear, definitive favorite. Now, after the dual races tonight, we might have a good idea about what drivers are really feeling the next gen car well, what drivers are willing to take risks, which cars handle better in traffic. Like Kyle Busch said yesterday before qualifying, even ultimately Daytona 500 qualifying doesn't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. The field's going to get so jumbled up throughout the course of the event. It's really just for show. And there's a nice trophy, I guess, that goes along with it. Well, the dual races are tonight. Those will set really the rest of the lineups. It's worth mentioning that both Noah Gragson and Jacques Villeneuve both locked themselves in on single car speed. So there are now 4 open teams gunning for those final 2 spots. There'll be a couple one-on-one battles in the heat races tonight. That's going to be fun to watch. Congrats to Noah Gragson making the show. I know last year he just missed out, kind of on a weird rule, almost like a weird technicality. He ran well in his dual race last year. He'll make his first Cup Series start this weekend. And Villeneuve, of course, former F1 champion, former Indy 500 winner. It's just cool to have him in the field, I guess, for NASCAR's biggest race. Now, in a moment, we'll talk about some interesting driver quotes from Media Day yesterday, but before we get to that, I want to give my boy Ty Gibbs a shout out. I was actually really surprised to see myself cameoed, featured in his little announcement hype video. Year-old Ty Gibbs is the hottest prospect in NASCAR right now. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But yes, Ty Gibbs confirmed, Joe Gibbs Racing confirmed yesterday that he will run full-time in Xfinity this year. He won't be in the 18 though, as many predicted, or at least assumed. He'll be in the 54 once again. The 54 car will be full-time with Ty Gibbs behind the wheel. Monster Energy is the only sponsor currently announced. They'll be one of his main sponsors. It's a little troubling that they didn't have any other sponsors to announce. Like, it's been pretty well known for a while now that Gibbs was going to go full-time this year, but behind the scenes, Joe Gibbs Racing was waiting to announce it until they had a sponsor lined up and they could do a big grand reveal and everything. But they waited, and here we are 4 days before their first race. Oh, I guess we got to announce it. They didn't have a sponsor lined up other than Monster Energy, who of course is a big supporter of him and that team. Why Ty Gibbs, one of the best young stars in the sport today, doesn't have a full-time sponsor or several full-time sponsors knocking on the door lined up to at least interview or talk to Joe Gibbs Racing? That seems a bit concerning. Maybe it's Joe Gibbs Racing. Maybe they're being real stingy about it. They want to find an elite sponsor that they think can run with Gibbs for the next decade. They're not willing to take, 5 races here from Sport Clips or 5 races here from Toyota. They want to find a legitimate sponsor that can be to Ty Gibbs what M&M's has been for Kyle Busch or what Denny Hamlin has had with FedEx. So I understand them being picky, but I am a little surprised that here we are, season's here, and he'll have Monster on the car for most races, but no one else. That's a little surprising. The guy won 3 Xfinity races and only 15 part-time starts last year as a teenager. He has talent. Yes, the cars are good, but that's a future star in the making. I hope they get some more logos on that thing before too long. But yeah, I was very flattered to be part of the hype video. Appreciate that. High expectations for Ty Gibbs this year full-time. I think he's going to be a championship contender. I expect at least 4 or 5 wins. I want to see some of that raw aggression refined this year. I say that about a lot of young drivers, but it certainly rings true with Ty Gibbs. I want to see him rein it in. Don't make as many enemies. You're going to be on the same track with the same guys every week for 33 weeks this year. You can't get away with some of the beating and banging you might have got away with last year. You'll ruffle some feathers and be in the wall sooner than you realize. So that's what I'm looking for from Ty Gibbs this year, but I'm excited. Full-time, confirmed in the 54. I like that. He's kind of got his own brand. Like, the 54 has been around for a while. Kyle Busch has won races in the Xfinity 54. Actually, has won races in the Monster Energy 54. We've seen, I think, even like Kurt Busch in the Monster Energy 54. So that car has been around, but it's kind of neat that Ty Gibbs is going to, at least for the time being, have sort of his own number. The 18 is Kyle Busch, and last year was Daniel Hemrick. A few drivers had some really interesting quotes that I want to highlight during yesterday's Daytona 500 Media Day. First and foremost, one of the big storylines this week is the part shortage. A lot of teams, in fact, I don't think really any team, brought backup cars for each of their drivers. Like, Joe Gibbs Racing does not have 4 backup cars at the track this weekend. I think they have 1 or 2, and they have maybe 1 or 2 that could quickly be put together back in Charlotte and driven down in a pinch. But with the part shortage, with not that many next-gen cars fully assembled at this point, a lot of drivers have been asked if they're going to change the way they drive in practice, for one, but especially tonight in the dual races leading up to the main race, so as not to wreck their main equipment. Joey Logano has had, I don't know, maybe the quote of the week so far when he was asked about this and said that he's not going to change the way he races. He's going to continue his typical Logano aggressive style.
Balance. Yeah. Balance here. You got to go win. That's the attitude is to go win. If you're scared of crashing your car, you think you have a chance of winning at that point? No.
I like that quote from Logano. That's a very, second place is just the first loser. Like, it's one of those kinds of quotes I feel like we'll look back on for years to come. It's a good one. It certainly sums up Joey Logano's driving style perfectly. We know at least one guy is going to be shaking it up tonight in the dual races. Presumably. I mentioned Kyle Larson, of course. He ended up winning the pole for the Daytona 500, but before qualifying last night, when talking to reporters, he was asked about what driver he could see having a breakout season this year. Obviously, besides himself, he kind of had that last year. And Larson said, Tyler Reddick. I feel like he's going to have a breakout season. When I watch him, I think I'm watching myself. I think he's going to have an amazing season. That is a ringing endorsement from the former champion. Tyler Reddick, of course, is 3rd year now in the Cup Series, driving for Richard Childress Racing. If you saw my video a couple days ago, I had Tyler Reddick ranked currently as who I believe to be the 11th best driver in the Cup Series. That's despite not winning any Cup Series races, just showing flashes here and there. Obviously, he won back-to-back Xfinity Series titles in 2018 and 2019, so he has won on the big stage before, but he hasn't won on the biggest just yet. But he's also been, I think, in a B-tier ride for his entire Cup Series career. This year with the next-gen car, I think you'll see that gap narrowed. In fact, in qualifying last night, the difference in speeds, the difference in lap times were some of the closest margins we've ever seen at Daytona. So already, while yes, the Hendrick cars were up front, the Gibbs cars, the Penske cars, they all seem to be near the front, it looks like some of that parity we were promised with the next gen does in fact exist. And just look back at the Clash a couple weeks ago. I know it's such a weird race. It's kind of existing in its own little universe, its own vacuum. Tyler Reddick passed Kyle Busch for the lead and drove off until a part broke on his car. And his teammate Austin Dillon ended up finishing in the top 5. I think Richard Childress Racing is going to be better this year, and I think that bodes really well for Tyler Reddick, who has a ton of pure, raw racing ability. He comes from kind of a similar background to Kyle Larson, so it's not shocking to hear Larson sort of lend Reddick that support. In fact, they're both California drivers originally, but it does give us fans another reason to be excited about the 8 car this year. I know Tyler Reddick is one of the drivers I'm most excited to watch race this season. I think he, like Larson said, could have an amazing year. I think there's a great possibility Reddick wins a couple of races. I'm not going to go 5 or 6. I mean, he is still in an RCR car. Let's pump the brakes, but a win here, maybe a win there. I kind of expect it from Tyler Reddick this year. I don't mean to put all that pressure on a guy who's been in, like I said, a B-tier car, has never won a Cup race before, but I kind of expect a win this year, maybe 2 from Tyler Reddick. And I'll be a little disappointed if he doesn't get it done. So not to add any extra pressure to the guy, but I'm with Kyle Larson. I think Reddick could have a fantastic year, and people are starting to figure it out early in the offseason. I think people were kind of sleeping on Reddick, but now, no, I feel like everyone's talking about Reddick, especially after the showing he put on at the Clash a couple weeks ago. So that's all I wanted to react to. Some of the best quotes from Media Day, qualifying last night, NASCAR changing the rule book the night before the season begins. I mean, that's peak NASCAR right there. Share your thoughts down in the comment section below. There's going to be a ton of content coming your way on this channel over the next few days. At least that's the plan, assuming I have internet out at the track. YouTube videos are not easy to upload when you're on the road, but the plan is to have tons of Daytona 500 content coming your way here very, very soon. I appreciate the support. That's all I've got. As always, a huge thank you to my amazing Patreon supporters who made the trip with me out here to Florida. I couldn't do the show without your tremendous support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any future NASCAR uploads. And again, if you're at the track at any point this week or this weekend and you see me, feel free to say hi. I'll be making the rounds as much as I can. It's a big facility, but I'm gonna be running laps basically myself all weekend long. I can't wait to see a bunch of fans out there. My first Daytona 500. I am hyped. I am very, very hyped. Words cannot describe how excited I am. I slept like 4 hours last night, and I slept like 4 hours the night before, so I cannot sleep at night. I'm that excited. Maybe I just need to lay off the caffeine. I don't know. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you again very, very soon.